All right, welcome to the Tangle Collective, Griff. Thanks for coming on the show today. It's an honor to have you here.
Always a pleasure to hang out, Tangle.
Yeah. All right, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Griff, he's been a longtime Ethereum activist, co-founder of Giveth, DAppNode, Common Stack, and has contributed to numerous other projects in the DAO space. He ran Camp Decentral at Burning Man for years and is a common personality at major blockchain conferences around the world. Many times when I've seen you there. But I don't know if I'm missing anything else here, but what a resume there, sir. So
Hey,
anything else we
thanks.
should add to that for now?
I started a lot of projects. So,
Mhm.
lately, I've co-founded Unicorn.eth, which is
Right,
kind of
right.
like a simple, safe wallet. I
Hmm.
started a project called QAC, which is like a token launchpad for real projects, not scams.
Nice.
And it's kind of like a grant program type launchpad. We actually just exited that, so I'm still working on it, but now it's under Thrive.
Okay.
And then also started a cool, like a liquid democracy voting app called Pairwise, and used to do some reputation stuff with this project called Praise. And I basically start a couple new projects every year. It feels like, and I never end them. Although I'm trying to end them. I'm trying to do a better job at ending the projects that aren't working. Uh,
Hey, that's all
but yeah.
right. Yeah, cool, cool. Well, it's
And
amazing that
last
there's
time,
this
and I saw you just a couple weeks ago, but you were
not too
wearing
long
a
ago.
lot more clothes than you were then.
That's
So that's
true.
cool.
That is true. That is
I
true.
was like,
And likewise. Yeah. Well, it's amazing that all these things that you're involved in and up to, and very, I guess giving and, trying to help this whole space. So I do really appreciate a lot of these efforts that you're putting forward throughout all this. And I guess maybe just take before we get into too much deeper here, I guess before all of this stuff, and it feels like this has been an eternity, I'm sure for you, and I mean even for any of us involved in all this. Like, what were you up to beforehand, before all that? Like, what were you interested
before
in? What was
crypto.
kind of, yeah, like what was happening?
Well, so I was a chemical engineer,
Hmm.
and I think what really got me into the space is I became a crazy anarchist, basically. Uh, I held all my money in gold, physical gold and silver, and I didn't have a bank account for many years, and was living that kind of life. And when I heard about Bitcoin early, because I was in that kind of those circles
Hmm.
in 2013, and bought a bunch because I thought, oh, this sounds easier than gold. And because physical gold's really annoying to work with, I'll
Yeah.
be honest. And silver, silver's very heavy. So yeah, it's like Bitcoin seemed like a cool thing to be a part of. That's like really aligned with my values, and that was early 2013. And then by the end of 2013, the price went up a bunch, and I just became obsessed. I was actually a massage therapist at the time,
Okay.
a Thai
Okay.
masseuse. So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like
Nice.
in LA giving Thai massages
Yeah.
in Beverly Hills, and but then my wrist started to hurt, and I became obsessed with Bitcoin. So I just fell down the rabbit hole and was doing whatever I could to just be in the space. I eventually found a course, the first master's degree, well, the first degree ever in digital
Sure.
currencies out of Nicosia, the University of Nicosia in Cyprus, and it was
Right.
like an online degree, and it was the first real college to give any kind of certification in blockchain. So I went for it, and that's how I fell into the Ethereum space because well, I was really into DAOs. At the time, they weren't even called DAOs; they were called
Right.
DACs,
Right.
uh, from Dan Larimer's language back in the BitShares and before
Right.
Steemit and before
Ooh.
EOS.
Yeah.
There was this BitShares project that he was doing, which I was a fan of and I was following closely. And I was a crazy anarchist. I
Mhm.
was really excited about this idea that maybe with blockchain tech we could build something better than governments. And I've
Mm.
really been always excited about that idea. That's always been what gets me up every day. Like I know we can do better. And so yeah, I just got into I was building like a white paper and like writing some things around DACs. It was like a
Mhm.
bike sharing white paper, and I thought the sharing economy, because because this is before like Uber was really big and like Airbnb was just taking off,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of like the scooters and bike rentals were kind of
Yeah.
the main sharing economy thing. This is
Yeah.
2015. And so I made a bike sharing DAO that would
Hmm.
actually, like a white paper for it at least, that would like, if you, steward a bike, if you bring your own bike into the network, and then like the idea is that the network would own the bike. It would
Hmm.
give you tokens, but they'd be vested in the bike until riders came to ride the bike, and then you get their funds, plus the tokens. And it was this whole like token distribution scheme. And I sent it was a homework assignment actually.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I sent that to Slockit, which was the only game in town for sharing economy anything. And I said, I will work for free. Please let me work for you. I want to learn. I want to be part of what you guys are doing. And I thought Ethereum was vaporware at the time.
Right. Okay.
That was the common consensus back then in like 2014, 2015, like Ethereum,
Sure.
what a
Yeah. Yeah.
scam.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody thought it was going to work. It wasn't going to. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and right around the time when it was launched, I sent them the email, and eventually he replied, and I I sent him my video that I made sent to my teachers 'cause I'm sure he didn't read the white paper, uh, and he was like, you seem really engaging, and you're I think he said something along the lines of your energy is contagious or something like that.
Ooh. Ooh.
It was like, oh, he likes me. And then it was like, yeah, you can work for free for us.
Of course.
So I was the community manager.
Yeah.
Before this, in fact, part of my backstory that I left out, but I was a community manager for the Save Our Sonics organization. You're in Vancouver, so you
Hmm.
might remember the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was a huge Sonics fan, like ridiculous. And I was third in line in command of the Save Our Sonics organization. I was like general of the fans. And so I did a
Uh-huh.
lot of community organizing for about 2 years while we were battling that that thing. The whole Sonics thing ended in a lawsuit that we were going to win. That would have kept the team in town for 2 years.
Okay.
But then the mayor, the day the judge was going to give the ruling, the mayor signed a deal with the owners of the Sonics to
Hmm.
say they can take them to Oklahoma City. And so the judge never ruled. The mayor, just with a stroke of his pen, kind of erased 2 years of my successful work. We
Yeah.
like, we grassroots organization worked so hard. We were going to keep the team in town. And one stroke of the pen, the mayor's like, screw all you guys. And so
Jeez.
I became a crazy anarchist after
I
that.
mean, there it is. What a
uh,
catalyst. It all came from,
but
yeah.
yeah, but I also went from chemical engineer to community organizer, and so then I had the community organizing chops to like be in Slockit and
Hmm.
lead the community there, and it was big. Like at the time, the DAO was really, Slockit was a sharing economy idea. Slock was smart locks, right? And
Hmm.
so you could send money, send ether to a lock, and then it would unlock, and then you could get the item, and then the idea would be you would return the item, and you would have like a deposit that the lock would be holding, and you could
Yeah.
get the deposit back when the item's returned, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or you could in DevCon 1, we actually, and I helped with the slide deck a little bit, but I didn't go to DevCon 1. But we actually went on stage and had like a water boiler that we made it, sent an Ethereum transaction live on stage. The
Hmm.
demo gods smiled upon us and it turned on the boiler, right? And so you
Yeah.
could use an Ethereum transaction to turn something on in the real world. And that was like, this is 2015. This is
Yep.
like really early days, and we're really excited about making this stuff happen. And so, but we were like, well, of course, someone's going to put weed in a locker,
Yeah.
and we're going to, be like sued by whoever. So we were like, well, what if we had a DAO that managed the network?
Hmm.
Kind of like how Arbitrum DAO manages L2s, the
Hmm.
the, the Arbitrum L2.
Right.
We could have a DAO manage these smart contracts on Ethereum. And so that's how the DAO started. It was supposed to just manage our thing, but then we were like, well, it's a DAO.
Hmm.
We would just be one project within the DAO, and then it got really big really fast.
That's it's really great context for all of that and like kind of that history of all those things. And a lot of this stuff gets lost or kind of gets forgotten about from like these early days and these early primitives of like, we're just sending a transaction to do an unlock, like that's something that's simple now when we look at all these complex stuff that we have. But back then that was just like game changing. Like, holy
Oh
cow,
yeah.
like you're able to, yeah.
Well, and of course this was also done on Bitcoin. I remember during the
Yeah.
DAO days, I went
Mm-hmm.
on a podcast with Sturkey,
Stirk,
Alex
yeah.
Sturk, and I don't know if you were there. Were you there
I
when?
wasn't I wasn't a part of Decontrol at that time yet, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, but knew all about those things. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like during my podcast in Decontrol, it would
Hmm.
so I sent Bitcoin to a beer machine and it dropped out beer, you
Yeah.
know? So it
Yeah.
was the same idea, and it could be we just wanted to make it a network, like
Yeah.
Craigslist style.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Well,
yeah.
the Pepsi machine is still alive and well and is accepting many different currencies at this time, and yeah, even expanding into yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Well, it's another for a whole other conversation. But yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. But again, that real world use, that tangibility is like it's so cool to just unlock all of that as compared to trying to make these things happen with like a traditional payments rail processor and what's all like this is just permissionless stuff that you can just make happen and choose to do it as you want. So that's a true beauty of all this stuff.
Yeah, and we were really, I mean, we were far ahead of our time. We were all about like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
we can have autonomous entities that would be able to have their own wallets, all the same AI narrative that we're talking now,
Mhm.
for drones being able to deliver things, and that was all built into what we were planning on doing with the DAO and
Yeah.
Slockit.
Nice.
And Slockit's project was called the Universal Sharing Network,
Yeah.
because that's what we thought we could build.
Right.
But
Right.
in the end, we got hacked, so it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, and that's I kind of wanted to touch on that. I know that's like it's a big topic to get into here, but of course, like recently here with like the Bybit hack and whatnot, there was a lot of comments going on about, oh, are we going to roll back Ethereum, yada yada yada, all these things, and like, so it did bring up a lot of that stuff. But you were basically there, boots on the ground, and like I'd kind of like to know a little bit more about like what your involvement was there, like how you kind of like what was happening for you when you first found out about that, and like how did this, I don't know, if there's any further things that you can kind of, you know, share with us on what was
Yeah,
happening
I
there.
mean, so I worked for Slockit, but
Hmm.
I was also the community guy.
Hmm.
So I was strategically placed to coordinate a lot of people,
Hmm.
and that's what I did. So there were a lot of things to be coordinated, and I kind of I would say I led the crisis response for the DAO
Got it.
from the community side.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation, who was leading the hard fork development and all of that work. And then I kind of led and was the project manager, you could say, for everything else,
Hmm.
right? There was the response hack, so the DAO hacker only took a third of the funds in the DAO,
Right.
about 4% of all ether in existence,
Yeah.
and
Right.
because the DAO raised 14% of all ether in existence at the time,
Right. Okay.
and it was at the time there wasn't as many ether as there are now, but it was about 12 million ether,
Yeah.
and we so there was still like 7 or 8 million ether in the DAO contracts after the DAO hacker stole the money. So
Hmm.
I organized a team to steal the rest of it and
Right.
to protect it, and that was called the Robin Hood Group. And while that's happening, and that was like quite the orchestration, because there was like we needed to coordinate with random people who had made random votes that we didn't know, and we needed their help, and we needed the help of the curators, and we needed the help of all these people. So it was like
Yeah.
it was a lot of chaos. And then also we were worried that if we started hacking the DAO, is that illegal?
Yeah.
Um, you
No.
know, and also if we hack the DAO and we rescue all the money and we just have all the money, does the hard fork not happen? Maybe the Ethereum Foundation is like, maybe we don't do the hard fork. Like, they rescued 70% of the funds. Let's just give everybody a 30% haircut, right?
Hmm.
And so I was really worried about that, honestly. And so I waited. I voted and I pushed that we actually don't attack the DAO until someone else does, because
Hmm.
there's this legal
Yep.
question, but more importantly, if it's too clean, maybe we won't do a hard fork. And the hard fork was the only way to get everyone their money back.
Right.
So that's what we did. We waited till someone else hacked the DAO, and then, but we were like really strong. We had a lot of DAO tokens, and we had a lot of practice on how to hack the DAO really well. We had perfected our contracts over the course of like six days, I think.
Okay.
And then, so then when we hacked it really well. But then also there were like seven other or eight other DAO hackers at the same time, and it was like DAO wars, and everyone was trying to hack the DAO right at once. It was like a gunshot blew, and everyone started hacking it, right?
Wow.
And so then we had to watch all the other hackers because we were planning for this,
Hmm.
and we set ourselves up so we could hack the other guys that also attacked the DAOs.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so we did. So we took, and we were also trying to stop the big DAO hacker too and try to get into his DAO. And so there was this whole process of like reducing the quorum so we could pass some votes, so we could actually buy DAO tokens from the DAO. The DAO itself could buy DAO tokens in the DAO hackers DAO because there was a bug there. Like it was
Hmm.
just complicated chaos of all the things we could do because we found so many bugs in our
Right.
contracts. Granted, Solidity was only 8 months old. Okay,
Yeah.
there was no such thing as a smart contract audit. Didn't
Right.
exist.
Right.
It existed after this, though. And so there are all sorts of bugs that we found ways to exploit,
Hmm.
and we even found a bug later because, like, to jump out of the story on a quick tangent, later on, someone accidentally sent $500,000 to the DAO after the hard fork and
Okay.
everything. And so then that became a race of who's going to hack the DAO again, right? And he reached out to us, and we had found a way that we could actually like screw up all the DAO hackers. And so we even found a bug in the DAO that allowed us to actually send poisoned tokens to the other attackers that would ruin their attack, and then we could just take all that money. And so we successfully rescued 100% of that money without any competition because we ruined all the other people that and
Right.
messed up their contracts. So it's like there were so many interesting weird code loopholes. And then when we're doing it, it was like totally the Matrix. It was we're like, block explorers were not very good at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're looking at like raw bytecode
Right.
of transactions that people are sending and things like that, and we're deciphering it in real time as the transactions come in, trying to figure out what they're doing and what who's doing. It was very much like the Matrix, where you're just reading these numbers and letters and you're like, what is that? I see what he's doing. It
Yeah.
was wild.
Crazy. Crazy. Yeah, because you're not
But
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
interacting with. Yeah, because it wasn't just like this beautiful front end that you could go play around with and like click buttons here or there, whatever. And like even to having like probably some of the command line tools that we have available to us now with all this infrastructure, like you're not even not a chance.
no,
Wow.
Tenderly was years away. Like there's just like it is just raw bytecode. And
Yeah.
so in the end, we did all these things, and
Hmm.
then the hard fork happened, and it kind of just took all of the money. The hard fork, people always say it was a rollback. It wasn't a rollback. It was called an irregular state transition. And there was nothing to roll back. The DAO hack was a really unique hack where
Hmm.
the money that was taken wasn't really accessible. It was locked in one address for the next 35 days and couldn't be moved.
Hmm.
So we had 35 days to do a hard fork to take the money out of all
Right.
the addresses that were in the DAO and put them in a new contract that would just say, hey, DAO token holders, come get the money. You get your money
Right.
back. So if you had DAO tokens, it was kind of one of the first prediction markets, effectively, in Ethereum, because it's like, well, how much do you believe in the hard fork working and happening?
Yeah.
If you believe it, because DAO tokens were going for like 70 cents on the dollar,
Right.
70% of what they were worth, because it was really for Ether.
Yeah.
But so people, if you believe the hard fork was happening, then you bought a bunch of DAO
Hmm.
tokens, and you could see the price of DAO tokens relative to Ether fluctuate based off of how likely people thought they were to get their money back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then at the hard fork, it was like near the hard fork, it was like, there was no, it was almost at parity, and
Yeah.
hard fork went without a hitch. Everyone who had DAO tokens was able to get their money back. There were lots of edge cases that I also led. I led the hack process, and I also led the cleanup,
Hmm.
and also led the hack on ETC because we didn't know it at the time. I mean, we knew it was possible
Right.
that people could run the old Ethereum software and the DAO hacker would still have money on the pre-fork version of the network. So if you're running the node, an Ethereum node that didn't update the software,
Hmm.
in your Ethereum, the DAO hacker still had his money. So a bunch of Bitcoiners actually chose to keep that network alive
Yeah.
and buy all of the ETC, the Ethereum Ether Classic that existed to maintain a price out there, which is just crazy to me, but it happened. And so then, when Poloniex listed ETC, all of a sudden the DAO hacker had a bunch of money, and it turned the DAO hack into one of the craziest hacks ever, where everybody made money. Everyone got their money back
Hmm.
who was lost in the hack. The DAO hacker had money, and then everyone else also got extra ETC.
ETC. Yeah.
Like everyone in Ethereum just got an airdrop of Ether
Yeah.
Classic. In fact, the Ethereum Foundation, I think they had more than one, less than 2 years of runway just from
Just
selling
from
their Ether
ETC.
Classic.
Wow.
So like it funded a lot of stuff in the in the Ethereum space actually. Ether Classic did.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is that then we were preparing for all these hacks on mainnet Ethereum. We had to do that now on Ether Classic because
Right.
on Ether
Okay.
Classic we still had all the money. So
Yeah.
we coordinated that whole attack. We attacked all the sub DAOs and stole all their ETC, and we were able to recover all the ETC except for from the main hacker
Yeah.
and give it all back. Well, 70% of the ETC that the DAO would have gotten all
Hmm.
went back to DAO token holders. And that was a whole thing of chaos where we got like legal letters from different lawyers telling us different things of
Hmm.
how to distribute the ETC. And like we all flew to Switzerland and met for the first time all the other members of the group that was hacking the DAO at the time. We
Hmm.
called it the White Hat Group. We met for the first time in Switzerland, trying to get legal support. It was crazy times, man. They were crazy times, but it all worked out really well. And in the end, everyone got their money back and then some.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we went on with our days.
Yeah, crazy. And I'm glad you clarified a few things there too around like, how this hack worked, what it was, and like how, like you say, it was, it wasn't necessarily a rollback per se. It was just like, you kind of changed the state of things.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
kind of,
Anyone who ran the upgraded node,
mhm.
kind of, we in the upgraded node, we injected a transaction that shouldn't have been legal. It was
Right.
like take money from all of these DAOs, from all these
Yep.
smart contracts, and put in that smart contract
Yeah.
without anyone's permission. So
Right.
as an irregular state update, you could
Yep.
say.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a good way of putting it. And now like just kind of touching back on this whole Bybit thing, right? Like that was, the latest thing for 1.4 or something like this. Um,
1.4
you know,
billion.
billion. Yeah, sorry, I should identify that. Yeah, $1 billion worth of assets. But with the ecosystem being like so much different today than it was back then, and especially all the smart contracts, the tokens, the apps, all these things. Like, do you feel like there's a large enough exploit where you could force something like this, or is that ship sailed? Do you think?
I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
I don't think that you could ever get a hard fork through Ethereum. I mean, if there was ever going to be one, it would have been the next year when there was actually so after the DAO hack, my
Hmm.
team, the White Hat Group, we became kind of right now. There's this team called Seal 911
Hmm.
that Like if you get hacked or if you do anything, you find the SEAL 911 guys on Twitter or Telegram and you tell them what happened
Right.
and they help you, you know. So in 2016 to like 2019, 2018, 2019, that was us. We were the White Hat Group and everyone knew we rescued the Dow. So we, we could have ran off with the money. We're not, if we didn't
Right.
run off with $100 million, we're probably not going to run off with 12. So
Right.
like they would contact us and we would help them fix their ICOs or whatever random problems would occur. We were kind of like, well, we were the trusted white hats, that would fix problems and make sure everyone got their money back. And in mid 2017, there was someone called us and they were like, hey, we think our multisig was, someone took over our multisig somehow and stole our money. And we're like, what? How'd that happen? We're like, whatever, man. You probably just don't know what's going on. We go to the Etherscan and we're looking it up and we're like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Someone just, with a couple of transactions, stole all the money out of this multisig. Let's see if we can recreate it. We recreated it and then it was like, holy shit, like, we gotta go, because that was $30 million. It was a team that I really loved. It's called Swarm City. They were like going to do the sharing economy stuff, but for replacing the Dow basically. So I was really excited about their project and really sad that they got hacked.
Yeah.
But there are lots of other projects that were using these multi-sigs. So
Right.
within about 2 hours, we stole $200 million, well over $200 million,
Jeez.
and just like taking over everybody's multi-sigs.
Right.
And then this was the Parity multi-sig. So Parity,
Right.
Web3 Foundation, Polkadot,
Yep. Yep.
right? And so this was before that they were just building on Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
and this was their multi-sig contract. And so it was like, okay, and this is the first Parity multi-sig hack. We were able to rescue all the money and lots of cool stories out of it. Anyway, we gave everyone the money back and rescued all these cool projects. And but then 6 months later, so we fixed the bug and sent money back to a redeployed version of the multisig. The bug was effectively that they had this init code, this like initialization code, that when deployed improperly, it was used to take over the smart contracts. And we told them that pattern is not acceptable. They can't use that pattern for a multisig. But they're like, yeah, but all of our deployment software is like this, We'll fix it, But they didn't fix it correctly. And someone was able to call the exact same code about 6 or 8 months later. I'm sorry, this is a long time
Sure.
ago.
Sure. Long time. Anyway.
And they actually locked. It was DevOps 199. He called. He says he accidentally killed it. He accidentally called a function that killed the contract that had $150 million worth of Polkadot's ICO money.
Right. Okay.
Or no, sorry.
Was
It was they had raised 150 million, but they only had $90 million worth of ether at the time,
okay.
which is a lot of money now.
Yep. Yep.
Locked in this contract, and the code was erased off the blockchain, so now the money is just stuck, right? And so of course they were pissed. And these are co-founders of Ethereum. This is Gavin Wood.
It was Gavin. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Like he wrote the yellow paper. He is one of the main engines that made Ethereum what it is. So, and he didn't get a hard fork. The money is just there. No one stole it. It's just sitting there on the chain, and all they'd have to do is be like, "Hey, another update. We're just going to move another irregular state transition. We're going to move this 90 million ether to an address he controls. We know it's his. Everyone knows it's his.
Yeah.
Just move it." And we could not get people to do it. I mean, if you can't move 90 million that's stuck there in one spot that the owner of, then and do that with a hard fork 2 years into, there's just no way that there will ever be a hard fork for any amount of money.
Yeah.
It's
No,
never
that's
that.
That's a really good. That's some very good context on that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't see
way
it.
too much context. I'm so
Yeah, it's
sorry.
great though. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. No, I love to hear all this, and I love these details because these are the things that are important that I feel like kind of slip through the cracks. Oftentimes, we just glaze over it. It was just like, oh yeah, the parody hack, this and that. Okay, move on. But no,
Yeah.
it's good to get kind of this like more granularity into it, and gives us a better understanding of like where we're at today and like kind of what what we can expect and how we can feel about things. But those are all like very that's like a very coherent way of thinking about it. Like if it wasn't going to happen then, I mean, yeah, I don't know what like basically the whole network would have to go down, I guess, or at some stage, and then at that point, it's like, well, I think we can just pack it up and call this experiment failed, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, I don't see, I don't really see a scenario where, yeah, where we would, roll back the chain or create another hard fork that like that.
If there's a network failure, if there's some
Hmm.
kind of big issue, we could do an emergency hard fork that would solve the problem. But I don't think to recover funds there
Yeah,
will ever be a hard fork.
yeah, yeah. Can't see it. Can't see it. So. Cool, cool. Well, after talking about all the this hacking and loss of funds and everything, let's shift towards Giveth here now, where we're actually distributing funds and distributing assets and stuff to people. But you were one of co-founder of it, and I guess like where did the inspiration for that come from? I guess we've talked about a bunch of these things here as far as like helping and saving people, but like I don't know, any other other pieces to that as to what got Giveth up and going.
Yeah, Giveth's goal and mission has always been to basically continue the work of the DAO.
Hmm.
Our goal is it's kind of an interesting goal or strategy, but I mean we were thinking, hey, we want to continue to do DAOs. It's a little scary to do DAOs for a lot of things, but DAOs for charity, who's going to be pissed about that?
Hmm.
And also, there's a little bit of a subversive element here, surprisingly, because I think people forget that when governments fail to provide value that society demands, people start nonprofits. Nonprofits are
Hmm.
actually a free market solution to governments. When governments fail, nonprofits do the government work that they should be doing. They take care of the environment. They take care of they do public goods, right? Governments basically have a monopoly on every public goods vertical that they want to put their thumb on the scale for, right? When they decide not to, nonprofits pick up the slack because society sometimes has a demand for certain types of public good value. The public goods is this concept of basically things that governments and nonprofits provide, things that don't necessarily have. I'm really paraphrasing the
Sure.
technical public goods term, but um, things that maybe don't have monetary benefit directly, like a healthy river, or a clean forest, or happy society, right?
Right.
Things that just make the world a better place. Uh, there's kind of these two dimensions of economics. Most of our economics is focused on scarcity. How do we distribute scarce resources? All the economics of that you can put in a business model into a business spreadsheet, right? Like, okay, if I want to sell an iPhone, how much does it cost to build the iPhone, and how do I get the economics of scale? And then if you want the iPhone, you got to give me money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we create a clean river, there's no who do you charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a different side of economics, and
Yep.
we haven't really mastered it as a society, I would say, as a civilization. In fact, we suck at it. The best solution is governments and nonprofits.
Yeah.
But what's funny is there's so much real economic value attached to this clean river.
Yep.
If we could coordinate effectively, there's a lot of land on that river and a lot of landowners. And the landowners on a polluted river, I promise you, if they could coordinate effectively, they would make more money off of the land value going up
Mm-hmm.
than the cost to clean the river.
Right.
There
Yeah.
is
Or
clearly measurable economic value if the landowners on that river could just clean the river up, right?
Yeah, and even
So
benefiting from the, the clean water in itself. Perhaps that's something that they're using for, the agriculture purposes or, whatever else, right?
yeah, I mean, there's so much value in a clean river.
Hmm.
But there's this classic phrase called the tragedy of the commons, right?
Yes,
Like
yes, yes, yes.
coordinating around this, there's a game theoretical issue where if I put a lot of value in and clean the river, then I'm not going to get as much benefit, maybe to recover my cost
Hmm.
as, you know, but other people would get a lot of benefit by not contributing, right?
Right.
So there's this weird economic situation, but the fact is Eleanor Ostrom got a Nobel Prize in the 90s, first woman to ever win a Nobel Prize in economics for disproving the tragedy of the commons theory.
Hmm.
Because we're not just dumb apes. We coordinate.
Yep.
We can coordinate. And this is like, if there was a housing association for that river, that would solve it, right? That's like a coordination mechanism to do this. And I think that we can create more interesting coordination mechanisms with crypto economics, where we could issue a token in some way and use demand for that token, or token gate certain access to the river, or do use basically the tokenization concept to create an artificial scarcity that can represent the abundant value of a clean river. You know, that's kind of the goal of Giveth has always been like, how do we do this? Uh, and I've been trying for 9 years now to try
Yeah,
to
wow.
crack that code. We're getting closer and closer, but I wouldn't say we cracked it yet. So that was what we started. We started Giveth so that we could do DAOs for charities, because really that's the replacement for governments.
Hmm.
Nonprofit, if we could make nonprofits profitable, we wouldn't need governments.
Damn. That's a good line. It's a good line,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, and a beautiful vision because yeah, oftentimes like we see this that government is they're just very inefficient and sometimes oftentimes ineffective, right? And that's on so many different ways, and especially when it comes to specialized things, right? They're very good at generalized stuff where it's like doing generic things, but yeah, as soon as we get into these specialized stuff, it's we we lose a lot there. So yeah, it's amazing that you pointed out that really well that like when governments fail or governments are not covering enough, that's where these public goods and these nonprofits can come into play. So no, that's really cool. So I guess with some of these projects that have that you've had, that have come through Griffith or whatever, and have participated in all that. Have you seen like some of these or seen or experienced some of the successes that some of these projects have achieved through Giveth? And like, what do you see? How do you, what have you seen and what have you felt through all these things? I'm sure it's pretty cool to be able to, see some of this.
I mean, the side benefit, it's funny because, as you can tell by my framing of Giveth, I'm really more excited about, I'm not that excited about donations, even though we're a
Sure.
donation platform.
Sure.
That's where we start. That's how we get bring nonprofits into crypto, get them started. First, they just had to figure out how to handle crypto. Hey, let's raise
Hmm.
some crypto for them, right? And then maybe we can launch a token for them one day eventually. And so one of the side benefits of that is seeing all these cool projects raise money on a platform. Roman Storm, for instance,
Sure.
crowdfunded his
Yep.
legal defense. A lot of it came through Giveth. Random people were launching tokens for him,
Hmm.
uh, and on Solana, and then they could donate it to his Giveth address, and we were able to sell those tokens. And I think he raised something like uh, almost $200,000 just from meme coins
Jeez. Wow.
that were donated to him when their Roman Storm they were making all these meme coins on Solana. Um, and there's of course we've done lots of experiments with NFTs, and
Hmm.
we also just have really good charities on the platform like the PCRF, the Palestinian Children Relief Fund. They've raised almost $400,000 on Giveth.
Damn.
Um, right now we have this. Well, we do a lot of quadratic funding rounds, and
Yes.
quadratic funding is super cool because there's this little coincidence of wants
Hmm.
where we can find if we can find large donors that don't really care about who it goes to, but they want to see money go to a cause or
Yeah.
go to some specific effort. We can find those large donors
Hmm.
and get right now we have a quadratic funding round with $40,000 in the matching pool.
Yeah.
Then individual donors, by making their donations, are actually voting on how to distribute those funds. And we do this cool thing where it's not just about how much money you donate, but also if you're a unique person, you get a lot of value just by donating a couple dollars.
Yeah.
And because we square root the value of the donation, each donation, to figure out how many points each donation is worth. And so if one person donates $100, that's worth 10 points. But if 10 people donate $1, that's also worth 10 points. So you kind of have this interesting
Hmm.
democratic distribution of a matching pool, and it allows for a really cool thing, which is like, hey, donate this viral ask where a charity can be like, donate $1 to
Hmm.
me, $1. And look, if you donate $1, it says estimated matching is like $100.
Yeah.
So donate $1, and then that will, from the matching pool, it'll allocate an extra $100 to my project. Please donate to me. You know,
Hmm.
because if someone tells you, hey, like I have this, I want to help children in Palestine, like it just if you can donate $5, it'll move $200 to me. It's like, dude, sign me up. Yeah, here's $5.
Sure.
You know, like of course, how can you not? Uh, so these interesting. This is with Giveth, we kind of break up opportunities or mechanism designs into two games. There's donation games
Hmm.
and there's economic games. So like this is a quadratic funding is like one of our best donation games. Whereas like issuing an NFT or launching a meme coin or any of these like these are this would be a economic game, right?
Hmm.
Where you're issuing a currency or minting something out of thin air, creating some kind of economics around it, and then being able to use that to funnel money into good work. Whereas another common donation game is like staking a token somewhere, and like let's say you're staking ETH,
Yep.
but interest goes to the charity,
Yeah.
and you keep the principal. That's like a donation game.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, either and that mechanism is interesting as well. We see some platforms doing it, and then that's kind of I guess like a I don't know if it really has growth to it, but it's just like it kind of creates this. I don't know if it's necessarily sustainable, but it creates like a constant drip, I guess.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
not
like an
really.
endowment.
Yeah, just exactly. Just yeah, you have that. But yeah, the quadratic side of things is really, really cool because it empowers donors, right? Now, hey, you know what? I don't have some people want to have an impact, but they just literally can't, whether it's their financial side of things or whatever it is, or just their resource capped, don't even know about things, whatever it is. But to be able to say, in that exact model where you said, okay, I'm going to donate $1, and that dollar is every dollar that you match, from a smaller scale, it's going to have a larger impact. So it's like, oh, well, actually, by donating $10, if that's all you can do today, that is like you're going to be adding, like you're going to have the same impact as somebody donating $300-400, well, maybe not that much, but you know what I mean, like to
Yeah,
this $100, right, where oh geez,
exactly.
actually I can have an impact. I do feel empowered here because yeah, this is matched together. So it's
Yeah,
a beautiful mechanism, beautiful
yeah.
mechanism.
It really it works incredibly well, and the biggest challenge we've had with all this stuff is
Hmm.
actually onboarding people to crypto.
Right.
These
Yeah.
mechanisms are amazing, but like
Yeah.
the mechanism of taking bank account money and turning it into donations is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It
it's
sure
like
is.
do a bunch of KYC or whatever, and then get a wallet, write down 12 words,
Mm.
like all very scary.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
Bit of
then what is
friction.
this gas stuff? What is a
Yeah.
0x? Like blah, blah, blah. What does that even
Hmm.
mean? How do I send money here? Wait,
Yeah.
there's multiple networks? What's the difference between Arbitrum and Ethereum? Like it's just, and people mess it up. Like, Nonprofits, it's so sad, but I've seen nonprofits lose money in every way you can imagine.
Oh
Clicking
yeah.
phishing links,
Yep.
sending money to the right address on the wrong chain, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, just random errors. There's so many
Yeah.
ways you can screw this up.
Yeah.
Just like sending money to the token address,
Yeah.
looking on Etherscan and someone sent you like they call it a poisoned address where they send you these little scam transactions, and but then you don't know what you're looking at on Etherscan, so you just, oh yeah, that looks like the right 0x blah 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 address,
Hmm.
copy it and then
Hmm.
send money to it, and it's the scammer. uh, Seen it all. Seen
Yeah.
it all. So one of the
Yeah.
projects that we just launched called unicorn.eth, and we
Hmm.
actually kind of like, it's like a baby wallet, you could say.
Yeah.
It's baby wallet infrastructure. So anyone can create a wallet for their organization
Yep.
that only allows you to connect to applications that are specifically authorized by that organization.
Hmm.
So that way, if you click a phishing link, nothing happens. We
Yep.
put a lot of friction on how you can send money. We hide networks. We pay for the gas, so you
Right.
don't even have to worry about any of that. It's full account abstraction, so when you like click things, you don't get the MetaMask pop-ups, and you're like, "What does that mean?"
Right.
It just happens behind the scenes. You don't have to see any of the weird buttons or any of the weird boxes. Even when you connect to the application, there's no like sign in thing. You're just
Hmm.
automatically logged in on the right network. It
Yeah.
just works, you know?
Amazing. No, that's really cool because, yeah, as we get into these kind of, let's say, trying to onboard the boomers, right? And
Hmm.
let's literally just call it that for now, because, and I mean, there's a number of just like regular, let's call it even just millennials or Zoomers that are still struggling to learn and use this stuff. But even if you're to go all the way to let's say, how do we onboard the boomers? They need something like that. We need to have these kind of just very gated, simple things where they're here to do one use, right? And many people that I speak of that are, if they're, getting closer to their like senior year, let's call it senior years, they're just doing one, they're buying and holding, or they're just, they're doing very, very basic things, right? It's not like, they're into the trenches. They're not, flipping meme coins or trying to, do DeFi degeneracy or anything like that. It's just literally, let's keep it safe. Let's keep it simple. So the fact that you've kind of built this thing to be like guardrails in place for them to be, and like you say, I just don't want to screw it up. I just don't want to
Yeah.
screw it up. That's it. I just want to be safe. So to put that all together is that's a really cool project. That's a really cool initiative.
I mean, it solves my problem, which is when I have to onboard a nonprofit, I basically have to scare them out of even coming on Giveth, before they
Right.
can even be okay. Before you make a project, you got to set up a wallet.
Yeah.
And then I tell them all the things they need to know about how to manage that wallet safely. And probably because I'm like kind of in the security space and I've
Hmm.
seen so many problems, I just scare them away. They don't even want to sign up for it anymore. Like, actually, crypto sucks. I'm out of here. Like
Hmm.
that's basically the long story short. And it does. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
scams. Like, how many emails do you get a day that are just
Hmm.
begging you to lose your crypto? That are designed just to take your crypto. There's, it takes one mistake,
Hmm.
and so. Yeah, and in fact, you're talking about the boomers and all this stuff. I was actually in a call with the UN today because they're on
Hmm.
Giveth. They're raising money for some solar projects in Afghanistan and Samoa, and I showed them how to use this app to donate, and their minds were blown because it was so easy, and they've all tried crypto before, and it was always so hard,
Yeah.
and uh, and this was just like click, 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 nothing scary, no weird questions. It's not perfect. They
Sure.
still had to, like, if they have Apple Pay, I can skip KYC for under 500, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
So, but if you're trying to use your debit card, you gotta like basically poop in a cup and mail it somewhere. I don't know. KYC procedures are getting crazy these days,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like you have to, there's all sorts of like, I don't, because it's crypto and there's so many scammers, it's really difficult to just take bank account money and turn it into crypto.
Hmm. Hmm.
Most
No.
companies won't let it happen. So yeah, there's a lot of friction there. But if I just send them the money, you know, then it's super easy.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful to hear that you're yeah, we're going global, getting bigger and better and making it easier and frictionless. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, rad. One other thing with around Giveth and whatnot, like I've not yet been to the Giveth house in Barcelona, but I have every intention to stop in when I get the next time I'm through bars. But
Good.
yeah, just I guess I don't know, curious to hear a little bit about that and kind of how that all came to life, and a little bit of context for people and what it's all about.
Yeah, I have a lot of startups. And and I mean, we originally Giveth was co-founded by me and Jordy Belina. He doesn't work so much in this, but we started Giveth together. We started Tapno together, and Jordy is was living in Barcelona at the time, and we hired a lot of people from Barcelona. So kind of made sense to have an office, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of more of a crazy hippie anarchist guy, right? So we instead of making it the Giveth office, we called it Giveth house, and even the chat is called the Giveth home.
Mhm.
It's kind of a free space for crypto enthusiasts and people who work in crypto space to come through Barcelona, and they can just crash at our pad basically, and yeah, and it's fun. Like we have we the Giveth House has moved. The original place was right next to Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
Yeah, cool, cool.
It's about 10 minutes from the train station in Sants, and it has 17 beds, a sauna, a terrace, and the way that it makes sense. I mean, we've gotten some cool grants that actually paid a lot of the rent, but what makes sense is we just have a lot of team retreats, and we
Mm-hmm.
just always go to Barcelona because if you try to have a team retreat, like how much do you spend on an Airbnb? How much do you spend
Mm-hmm.
on all this infrastructure? We need a whiteboard, we need second monitor. So you go out and buy some of these things so that your time isn't wasted because the time is
Hmm.
valuable.
That's right.
Uh, so just the rent cost in Barcelona is like, and like flights and all this stuff, like we have it all nailed. So it ends up being kind of like a free place to do team retreats while for our global community of startups, while also being this really nice networking opportunity where lots of cool people from crypto just kind of roll through, hang out at the house. It's kind of like got a really good co-working vibe, but you also
Hmm.
sleep there and cook meals together, you know. So it's a really nice spot, and it's something that we've been keeping going for since 2017.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite an endeavor, man. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
been great.
the physical space stuff. Obviously, I've got a deep tie and connection to that. Obviously, with Decontrol, and
Yeah,
super thankful that our clubhouse here, Hackerspace here in Vancouver, was able to get on Giveth, and has benefited even from quadratic funding. Being able to get that benefit as well was so cool. So thanks on behalf of all of Decontrol for that, to be a part of it, and continuing to be like that's really cool how there can just be a page where it could just be like this you know perpetual donation page. And so now if people are like, hey, well, what's this thing that you're a part of, or what's going on with this Giveth house, or what's happening, or if even somebody comes in just randomly stops by and they're like, well, how do I contribute? Can I contribute? Can I get involved? What can I do? And you can send them this whole thing that actually, instead of it just like, oh, just send some funds to this QR code.
yeah,
Well, no, I'm not really that. That's not sexy. That's not. I don't learn anything from this. But oh, wait a sec. Here, check out this website, and now you get to see everything that's going on with it. Learn about who's involved, any kind of details that need to happen, and see like, oh, okay, this is like a real thing, and maybe even seeing updates and what kind of the progress of things, and see how long it's been around for. Oh, this was just listed 2 days ago. Maybe I'll just hold off. But oh, wait a sec, this has been a long-standing thing since 2017, for example.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe this is something that's going to stick around and has benefited people and is continuing to give, is going to be sticky. So yeah, super into this, super big fan. So yeah, thank you on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
No, it's super cool, and those are like Decontrol is exactly the kind of project I love to see on Giveth. It's like a
amazing. Um,
crypto community organizing project, and you guys add a lot of value, and hopefully you can get your local community to donate a little bit in those QF rounds, and then boom,
yeah,
you can bring home some bacon.
absolutely. And even during all this, like I've had people that have just literally said, hey, how do I get involved? How can I donate? And and just doing it, sending the multi sig some funds directly, and it'd be cool to be able to just, show that it kind of came through Giveth anyways, to show, okay, now it's there, so it keeps track of it that way. Sure, it's all on chain, but it's, nice to
Yeah,
go run it through there. And then you guys get, there's a little kickback that can happen for you guys too. And I like
if they
that
choose
aspect,
to. Yeah.
right? If they choose to. So if they choose to do that, but at least, I can, hey, here's this platform, here's how we can do all this. And then again, even through the Give or through the QF stuff, then everybody's winning, right? Everybody
Yeah.
wins in that sense. So, yeah, no, we'll keep it going, and yeah, very thankful for that. Very
Did
thankful.
did you end up getting decontrol in a cause by chance?
I haven't done that yet. That's on my list to do since I've been back from Burning Man. Yeah, things have been a little bit crazy. I just have not had a chance to deal with that, and I'm taking off to
Really?
to Asia here right away. So
Oh,
just trying to
nice.
catch up with all of the startups I'm involved in, plus trying to
Totally.
keep this
Well,
going. But
the cool thing with causes though is someone might have put you in one, and you didn't have to
right,
do anything at all.
yeah,
So right now we're doing these causes, and it's kind of a way for fundraisers to enter the platform. Like
hmm
we always notice that project owners are the ones who are like always like telling them donate, 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 and then they have to
hmm
manage the funds and do all this stuff. And um, we wanted a space for someone who's a fundraiser for a specific cause. Maybe they're a project owner, but they have to have at least 5 projects in the cause.
hmm
So, but then they can be like, hey, I want to. I think you were proposing a cause that was like, hey, like real life spaces
yeah,
in
yeah,
the world, right? And so that would be like the Giveth House. There'd be Decontrol. There's a bunch of them on Giveth
right,
actually too, and uh, and so then if someone's like, yeah, I want to support like real life spaces for crypto meetups, they donate to the cause, and the fundraiser gets 3%.
hmm
And we actually have an AI that distributes the rest based off of how they wrote the cause description. So it's kind of a cool.
very
They
cool.
just have to fundraise. They don't have to distribute the funds. They don't have to do any of the friction. We have AIs now. They can do smart things. And then from there, they actually have a reason to fundraise. They get a cut, which is super cool, you know. And
Yeah.
so you might see little trickles of money coming into the project if you are in a cause. And we have this QF round that goes on for one more week, at least at the time of recording. And then that, so it could still be up.
Cool. Cool. No, that's a great overview on the causes. And yeah, I need to put that together. It's just like trying to have a fundraise and a cause for public spaces or physical spaces. I'm very much into that. Obviously, we're aligned in that sense. So that's pretty cool to be able to offer that. So a cool little initiative there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a new thing. I hope
Yep.
this feature ends up doing well because it's really a huge step towards what I really want to do. We did QAC, which was a launch pad. We launched a token for the token engineering commons as well,
hmm
and we were using bonding curves and really cool techniques. But what we found is like it's really hard to launch a token. There's hundreds of thousands of tokens being launched every
hmm
day.
hmm
Pump Fun and all these launch
Yeah.
pads, so it's like to launch a successful token is pretty hard, and the Venn diagram between a successful nonprofit founder and someone who's able to launch a token is getting narrower and narrower. Like, I think
hmm
there's very few nonprofit founders that could also launch a token right now.
Right.
So this separation with causes is actually a first step to go towards how we want to launch tokens for nonprofit causes instead of launching a token for a nonprofit specifically, which is what we always thought we would end up doing.
Sure.
We would build economies around a cause that would where we could find cool ways to generate demand for that causes token. And then there's multiple nonprofits that are getting the funding from that cause. And the nonprofits, we have our whole verification system on Giveth, which is
hmm
super cool. Like we make sure that all the nonprofits on Giveth that are verified are like real nonprofits that have a history of success, raising donations and
hmm
using it to make impact. And so they could they can only bring verified nonprofits into these causes. And
Right.
someone who's good at launching a token could come in, find the nonprofits, create a funding stream for them by launching a token
Right.
and doing the token launch stuff. because they're good at launching tokens. Nonprofits can be good at doing their nonprofit work,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have to intermingle the two, and they can just have a funding stream. And so with causes, we're doing this kind of like we're kind of inching towards that, and then hopefully we can get cause markets. I mean, we're looking for funding so that we can do the build for cause markets, and we have a lot of experience doing it. We just need some external validation and some
Mm-hmm.
funding to actually build it. But we're getting closer and closer. So I'm really excited about cause markets where anyone can launch a token around a cause and use. We're doing some really cool novel token engineering around how these causes could have demand for their token and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So, so yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. Very cool. Earlier on, you said something about like how the fundraising games, or whatever. I think earlier on you kind of
Donation
mentioned,
games,
yeah, kind of
economic.
like yeah, and economic games and all, yeah, fundraising and all that. So yeah, just another piece to the puzzle in a lot of ways, and be able to keep this flywheel going.
I mean, the economic games are where it's at. Like donation games, they're kind of in many ways zero sum. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I have this token staked, and I could be earning the interest, but I'm going to give it to you. I have this money, I'm giving it to you. So it's like I'm taking from me and giving it to you. But when you issue a currency and create demand for that currency, if you can actually generate value by having that artificially scarce token in the mix, so it can become a coordination tool, then we're talking real economics. Then we're talking, wow, you created value where there was none before.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're taking some of that value, the positive sum game,
Mm-hmm.
into providing value for society. And that's like, this is what Bitcoin and Ethereum do, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these blockchain networks, they're incredible public infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just like the roads, they're financial rails. I can send money to anyone in Africa and no one can stop me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in anywhere in the world can create a Bitcoin address and receive money from anyone else in the world. That
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. That is incredible
Absolutely.
public infrastructure. So valuable. And it wasn't funded by taxes. It wasn't funded by donations. It was funded by issuing a currency and creating demand for that currency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the magic. That's where we can build, if we can take that model and massage it
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way. And I'm not sure exactly what mold it needs to be, but I'm a professional masseuse. I'll get there, okay? We're going to be able to massage that mechanism into a way where where we can create an economy that ends homelessness in Vancouver. You know,
Be
like
amazing.
there, there is value there. None
Yeah.
of the businesses downtown want the problems that come along with the challenges of so many homeless people around.
Right.
No one who has all those people who own property in these
Mm-hmm.
areas would benefit so much economically, directly economically.
Yeah.
And there's just this tragedy of the commons problem. But if we if we could find a token mechanism where the people who solve that problem end up with a lot of tokens for their work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that token's demand is somehow there's demand generated from the token from the economic value that is created by addressing these issues.
Right.
We can do it. Maybe
Yeah.
it involves governments in some way at first.
Right.
Maybe there's some tax benefits or there's some kind of
Mm-hmm.
something. I'm not against working with governments. I just know
Sure.
we can do better than governments. They're
Right.
the best we got right now for solving these problems, whether we like
Right.
it or not.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, we can do better, but we are where we are. And if we need to work with governments to make these economic models work, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise there is a way that we can coordinate to solve these problems, and I'm confident that digital assets will be a part of the solution.
Yeah. No, that's a very, very interesting approach to this because at the same side that you are providing like these business owners or corporations or whoever it is, these stakeholders, let's call it, they're going to profit and benefit from, from solving these problems, and however this mechanism gets built, they benefit from it. And at the same time, the people who are suffering from it, the actual homeless people, or the, addicts, or the whatever it is, the mentally, mental issues, or whatever it is, all these things, they help and they start getting solved, and everyone is starting to win through this ecosystem rather than it being at zero sum, as you were kind of referring to before. So how do we create that kind of positive flywheel and that abundance? So I think it's a beautiful vision to work towards, and yeah, would love to see something like that happening in Vancouver. And I'm sure, and it's not just like the people that are observing all these things. I'm sure that those people that are suffering and going through all that pain, they would like to get out of this as well. So
Absolutely. I
again,
mean, what really excites me is like the mechanism that makes this all work is like if
mhm,
we could just, for instance, take tax money, governments, whatever. Hey, I really think we could even get rid of taxes eventually. But let's say we already have taxes there.
mhm, mhm,
Instead of it going to, you know, governments or whatever to like just like fund bureaucrats to try to solve problems. If we could have some kind of token buyback solution or something like this, where that tax money, instead of going to bureaucrats to try to address the issue,
mhm,
we allow entrepreneurs to start token economies with
mhm,
novel ideas and novel solutions
mhm,
to address these issues. And then we have a competitive market
yep,
where entrepreneurs can make the same kind of money that they would make in a tech startup, right? Because they can IPO, they can issue a token, which is the equivalent of like selling shares to investors,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
If you look at the optimism, the original ideas around retro public goods funding and this sort of stuff, it's very aligned with that.
right,
But like the dynamic right now that I really love is right now there's bureaucrats that have a monopoly over trying to find solutions, and they brute force it with money, and it doesn't
mm,
work,
yeah,
right? But if instead of that monopoly, you could allow space to and financial solutions to encourage competitive markets,
mhm,
allow entrepreneurs that would be, instead of focusing on some startup where they can sell people's data or like, try
yeah,
to, make a widget that they're going to sell to everybody, some kind of scarce, they're creating some kind of scarce object and selling it. What if we could create markets where people could compete to provide abundance for society,
mm,
right? An abundant resource. So we're going to help the homeless. We're going to clean the rivers. We're going to, build the roads. We're going to, educate the children. We're going to like whatever things that governments and nonprofits do. If you could have competitive markets there where people have the same upside as they have in starting a tech startup,
mm,
like how different would our solutions be? Man, I guarantee in hilly country like cities, we'd have zip lines, man. We'd have zip lines for transportation. You know, take an elevator and just be like, yeah, I'm headed out this way. Like, because, that makes sense. Like, we could innovate a lot more
mhm,
than always just doing the same old shit that doesn't work. You know, uh, you need that competition. You need that, like, you need projects to fail. You need, like,
mm,
5% success rate, but people have so much upside that they're willing to take the risk. And
yeah,
that's when amazing things happen. But if you just have governments trying to take low risk solutions for things and they don't want to look bad and they just need to spend the money and try
yeah,
something, and who cares? They don't care. What's their upside? They're getting their paycheck if it works or it
yeah,
doesn't. Like,
yeah. A lot of incentive in alignment, let's call it, or non-alignment, yeah, out
yeah.
of alignment, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a waste of our time, and we're just and a
yeah,
waste of our money and a waste of our resources.
yeah,
You know, we wouldn't have gotten the iPhone out of government, okay? It wasn't going to happen,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and one other thing that I don't think we would have ever got out of the government is something like Burning Man, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously been another massive endeavor that you've taken on. And I guess you've been camp lead or lead Santa perhaps at,
Yeah, yeah.
at Burning Man.
My alter identity, my
Right,
also known
right.
as Santa over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously with Camp Decentral there at Burning Man, how did you first end up there? How did the burn come about for you?
In 2011, I sold everything I owned and moved into a pop top camper van and
Mhm.
road tripped around the country, the U.S. And heard about Burning Man. I don't even know how. Had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
But I was like, sure, I'm Roman. Why not? This sounds cool. Some kind of art festival. And so I went and my mind was blown. This is 2011.
Yeah.
And I didn't miss one for a decade. I just kept going back because it
Yeah.
was just so incredible. And eventually joined up with a camp called Camp Contact. They
Right.
also
Right.
had Camp Dogecoin. That's how I met Gary
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first time.
Yep.
2014 this is how I found the camp. And then I became friends with people, joined their camp, and I just kept bringing crypto nerds to the burn because I felt like, dude, these crypto nerds really need to see a different type of economy
Hmm.
than capitalism.
Hmm.
And Camp Contact is about like contact dance and heart-centered communication. And the lead there, Daryl, I was like, hey man, I want to bring like 25, maybe 30 nerds into your camp. Is that cool? He was like, no, it's not. I think I think it's time, Griff. I think it's time, Santa.
Yeah.
You need to start your own camp. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Please don't make me go. He's like, I'll help you. Because he was a crypto guy too. He's like, I'll
Okay.
help you.
Yeah.
I'll help you. But you bring all these nerds into my lovey-dovey like contact dance camp, and it's not the right vibe, man.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay. So, in 2017 we did Decentral the first time, and it was
Hmm.
like 35, 40 people, and we just grew until I think we actually had 120 people in Decentral one year.
Wow.
And yeah, my goal with Decentral is kind of it's hard to measure, but the economics of Burning Man are just incredible. They have
Hmm.
everyone's like, yeah, they do barter or something, right? It's like, no, it's not quite barter. It's a
Quite?
gift
No.
economy.
Yeah.
It's actually the same economy that your family has. You,
Mm.
most people's family. Now, I don't hear too many people describe it like this, but that's how I think of it. It's like the familiar economy. You go to a bar, you order a drink, they serve you the drink, and they say thank you, right? And
Yeah.
you say thank you, and everyone's happy, and everyone feels good because they enjoyed giving to you, and you enjoyed receiving, and it was great. And then
Hmm.
you felt like you needed to give back to your family by doing something else that's nice, and there's just this like nice reciprocal, like qualitative, like not measured gift economy
Yeah.
that is generated. And when you go to your mom's house and she makes you dinner, you don't give her $10. You know,
That's right. That's
you,
right. Yeah.
you just you just eat the dinner and you say
Yeah.
thanks, mom. And then
Yeah.
when your mom calls you up and is like, "Hey, can you help me like hang this thing? I need a ladder." And you head over there. Of course, mom, I'm here.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
fact, oh my God, I need to actually paint your thing. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll paint your house, or whatever. You don't. There's no money exchange. It's just a gift economy. You give, they receive. Later they give, and you're not really tallying it. And
Yeah.
to see that scaled to 70,000 people
Yeah.
is inspiring, to say the least. I'm not saying, hey, let's put the gift economy on chain. I'm just saying, like, if all the crypto people see is capitalism,
Hmm.
they're going to build hyper capitalism.
Hmm.
But if they see something else, their mind can be open to more possibilities.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to see hyper capitalism.
Hmm.
I want to see something better. I think we can do something better.
Yeah.
And I know we can do something better. So I started Decentral to try to bring, not only bring the crypto people in to
Hmm.
like see Burning Man's economy, but also we basically run a conference at Burning Man. So uh, that way we can educate burners about what you can do with these tools. Because if burners already know, like they already get
Hmm.
this economy, they get it. They know that there's something different out there besides capitalism. And so if we can give them the tools so that they can build economies,
Hmm.
we get this really nice cross-pollination between the two worlds. And it's incredible how much crossover there is between
100%.
and crypto.
100%. I mean, it was my first year was 2012, so a year after you. I had every intention to go on, or I had intention, I should say, to go in 2011, and that was the first year it
Oh,
ever sold out. And a friend had said they told me, "Hey, I've got a ticket. If you want it, let me know." And I messaged them, and they were like, "I just sold it last week, man. Sorry."
wow.
So I said, okay, wasn't my time. The playa was not ready for me yet. And then
Yeah.
2012 came along, and that was the first year of the that was that year of the lottery. I don't know if you recall that, where a bunch of people were pissed about it because it was just random selection for everybody who sibbled into the thing. I put
Yeah.
in one email address, and I got was able to get two tickets out of it. So I was very
Nice.
happy about that. And so yeah, I had spent 2012 and 2013 in experiencing Burning Man and being all a part of that and seeing like what experiencing just what you've described, plus seeing how for me it was like, wow, this is this almost decentralized kind of environment where people can come and do as they want. It's in a very outside of the realm, outside of kind of the traditional permissions. Like it's permissionless. I can do whatever I want. It's kind of like this open source little community where everybody is a participant. So everybody's like a node in the network in a lot of ways, because it requires like you. There was actually this art piece that I remember from years ago. I think it was either this 2012 or 2013, and it was this large skeleton key, and it said, "You are the key to Burning Man." I thought, oh, that's beautiful, right? So it's like, yeah, everybody plays a part in all of this, and you need to participate to help. And just as you've said here, this gifting economy, this is where if everybody participates, then this is where this thing really takes off, and it actually even it gets better for everyone. So I've always been, wanting to participate as much as possible, be involved, do whatever I can. And then in 2013, it was just after I'd left the burn, I was like reading through Reddit and everything else, and that's when I stumbled across, this Bitcoin thing. What's going
Oh,
on here?
cool.
And this girl that I'd met, one of my exes, she'd said she bought like half a Bitcoin for $30 or something like this. I was like, what's going on with this? And so I started looking and reading into it. And of course, the more, I definitely like to get pretty involved in things and down the rabbit hole. And I suddenly saw like, okay, this is like the alignment here with all of this stuff that has with Burning Man. It just clicked for me, like on so many different levels. Like, sure, the number kept going up, but that was fine. I didn't care. Like, it went from $200-300, and it was going up to $400 or $500 or whatever. Like, I think it was like 400 or something when I first started you know getting some, but the rest of it made sense to me. And
Yeah.
I really do think it was thanks to Burning Man and that kind of those principles, even the 10 principles, right? There's a lot of that has just so much alignment with it. So, almost on the flip side, rather than, being a crypto person that came to the burn, I feel like I was a burner who became a crypto person
Same.
because of so much alignment. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I think the playa isn't for everyone. I'll say that much.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's not for
Everyone.
everyone,
You have to
but
like camping.
yeah, you should like camping. You should like wild, erratic experiences because anything can happen out there.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's
Safety
calling you,
first.
safety third. Safety is
Yeah.
definitely third. It does not go any higher than that. And
Yeah.
you know, uh, I feel like if the playa is calling you, you'll be there, and that's what I've said to people. Because in the early days, it was like, oh, everybody should go, everybody should do this, and yeah, after 11 years, I say when it's your time, you'll be there if you're supposed to be. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that the burn really ingrained into me is serendipity. You
Mm,
know,
mm,
like it's amazing when you create a container for it, like Burning Man. How much? Like I ran into you 3 or 4 times. I mean, you
yeah,
came to my camp, but I'm not
sure.
always there. You
Right,
know. And then we're
right.
dancing around the fire at the
Yep,
burn, and we're both happen to run into each other there. I mean, there's 70,000 people. How do we run into each other so many times?
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy how the serendipity can happen on there. There's a lot of magic. There's some special magic that is just kind of inexplainable, and yeah, it's worth for those who are willing to to try and discover it or experience it, it's a beautiful and powerful thing.
Yeah, and it's nice because I feel like the magic's in the playa dust, and it never really comes off of you.
No,
It's
it
everywhere.
isn't.
It
It's
stays with
everywhere.
you for at least
Yeah,
a year until you go
at
back.
least,
It takes
at
a year
least.
to. It's
Yeah,
still on my fingers. Like I was there. I was there for almost 3 weeks
yeah.
because to get there a week early and then stay
Hmm.
until it's all
Hmm.
done, and my finger still doesn't actually unlock my computer like it used to, or like, it's still like all dried out and like the
Yep.
skin's all messed up from
Yeah.
that crazy, crazy environment.
Yeah. It is quite a wild environment. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Amazing. All right, Griff, we've covered a lot here today. This has been amazing, incredible to hear so much detailed stuff around everything that we've explored. It's been magical. But yeah, if people want to learn more about you or reach out to you, what's kind of the best ways here?
yeah. Probably Twitter. I'm
Hmm.
the Griff, Griff, and then T for, well, I guess it's X now. It should be the
Right.
Griff X, but it
Should
was
be
the
the
Griff
Griff.
T. I just added T, and which is sad because now it says like the Grift, and I didn't even
Right.
think about that. But
Right. Right.
well,
Right.
apparently I'm a very clear scammer. It's in so
Yeah,
yeah,
furthest
I'm
thing
the
from
Griff
it, but yeah,
T.
yeah, yeah. The Griff.
Yeah,
Okay. And then yeah, I guess giveth.io.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Giveth.io. If you happen to see this by the 25th, you can try donating to a cause on Giveth in our QF round. And it will, on the 25th, it ends on the 25th of September. And just a $5 donation, it will route hundreds of dollars to the cause that you care about. And you'll be entered to win $1,000 in a raffle that we
amazing.
give away every 2 weeks.
All
So,
right, so I've got a
thanks.
week to get less than a week to get this out there. Oh boy,
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. I do have to go on an airplane to Asia here right away too in 2 days, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll
Don't
see what
worry
I can
about it,
do.
man. It's
I'll see
okay.
what I can do. But alrighty, Griff. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and yeah, till next time, man. We'll see you soon.
Yep. See you soon, Tangle.
Yeah, all
Bye,
right, bye
man.
bye.